Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I begin, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashum, Yahushua, Ba'ashum, Rakak, Wadash, the bonds of the apostles, the bonds of the elders, at Green Millstone, who rule well, and time in this truth. Much respect to you brothers out there, just preaching his word in truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of earth. Tabernacle David that's being risen up right before your very eyes, the hopeful elect, and the speckled bird. To you, I say shalom. Let's get into this lesson. Earlier today, I ran into this appear to be Edomite while me and the fam was out furniture shopping. You see, because over here, which I'm pretty sure all throughout the U.S., I had to look it up, but I'm pretty sure you have a lot of these value cities that are closing down, right? And that's just, with the conversation I had with this appear to be Edomite, it's just the economy. It's the tariffs. It's the times they be living in. It's what's going on. But the quick conversation that I did have with him was actually pretty spiritual, right? I'm somewhat sum up his words, roughly paraphrasing his words and what he said. But pretty much, he was like, man, America ain't gonna be here much longer, man. we ain't got 5 more years of this thing. This thing might burn down to the ground. Where everything that's popping off, this thing might burn down to the ground, right? And what the scriptures speak about that. This place ain't gonna be here forever. This place has a due date in which this place is going to be taken down. And we can see the deterioration right before our very eyes. Another thing in which he said, man, we're going to have to ask, the Native Americans how they had peace or survived, wasn't at each other's neck before we came here, which, if you know your history, going into it and also knowing the curses, of course, there were skirmishes amongst the tribes, of course. But for the most part, it wasn't like how it is here in Babylon the Great or what's going to happen here in Babylon the Great. You see the ways how Babylon the Great treats its people, right? To poison us is poisoning its own people. You see the food being poisoned, the air being poisoned, everything, is laced with chemicals, man. That wasn't over here until Esau Edom got his grimy hands. All right? Until he got his grimy hands and, worked his magic over here in Babylon the Great, right? Having you pay for electricity, having you pay for water, right? This is an unrighteous kingdom. And it has to fail. The scriptures speak of seek the old path, right? So we're seeking the old path, and the old path is going to be implemented in the kingdom of heaven, right? Following the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, doing the work of the Lord. Yeah, man. The other nations are going to be bowing down to our God. The other nations are going to be working for us. But within that, there's going to be peace. Of course, after your 1,000 years slavery, of course. But after that, man, it's gonna be it's gonna be peace. We gonna be cool with you. Only ones we ain't gonna be cool with and won't have to worry about anymore, as you read in Obadiah, right? Is the Edomites. There shall not be any remaining at the house of Esau, right? So yeah, I just want to speak on that. Very spiritual. Rather he realized it or not. Like I said, it appeared to be Edomite, could be Jake. What he said was spiritual. Babylon the Great ain't going to be here anymore. It's not going to be here much longer. Matter of fact, I believe he also said we might have to restart this thing, man. And that's what's going to happen. When we get those new bodies, when we're in the kingdom, yeah, man, it's gonna be the ultimate restart, refreshing, man. Us actually truly living life, man. And Slakia, talk long enough. I'm seeing this about 5 minutes. Meant to get a scripture earlier, but just rambling through the spirit, man. This is Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 1. You know where I'm going, right? Remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, near the years draw nigh. When thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. You see? And we're in those days. The people is like, man, this ain't it. You've seen a lot of people making videos of them having to live in their cars, right? Or having to move back into their parents' house. Having to do this, having to do that, man. Matter of fact, which however I format this video, I may put in some videos, here and there within this video itself. I have this individual called the Black Hokage. He'll pretty much speak here and there.
It has to go through Congress. It's Congress that's supposed to vote. He was panicking because I don't know if y'all follow the news. The Supreme Court blocked Trump's global tariffs. They say he doesn't have the power, which if you follow politics, you would know that it's Congress that's supposed to vote on that. It's not, the president doesn't just get to do whatever the fuck they want. He's not a king, right? So they blocked it and they said the vote, you can do it, but the vote has to go through Congress, right? So he's all butthurt and shit like that. And Mr. Fantastic was on TV from Shark Tank talking, because also in the report, they said that legally Trump might have to pay back every corporation that paid a tariff. And they talking about like Trump might own like $200 billion or some shit, right? So Mr. Fantastic was on TV. The shareholders are calling. They want their fucking money back. I don't know what, that nigga was ready to cry on TV. That shit had me, I'm not gonna be lying, bruh. So they're talking about the government might have to pay back corporations because the tariffs were illegal and they've been fucking over businesses, large and small. So what does that have to do with everything? Let me bring it back full circle. They lining up warships and planes in the Middle East too. They talking about attacking another country while this nigga, it's so crazy to me, not to get on my pedestal for a second, but it's so crazy to me that in 2026, we are watching the president of the United States try to redefine what the word pedophile and what the word peace means, because he keeps calling himself the president of peace. Look it up. We lining up all our war assets in the Middle East, getting ready to attack. I didn't know that meant peace. Shit is fucking, I'm over it, bruh. I'm over it. I'm fucking over it, bruh. The board of peace is wild. Them niggas all can eat a dick. A lot
of things is popping off, man. Right? I believe government has shut down Trump's tariffs, which if you know anything about the tariffs, right? Only Congress, which I did a lesson on that last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I did a lesson on that last year. Only Congress has the power to implement tariffs, right? To raise tariffs or to lower the tariffs, right? Only Congress has that. And as our apostles and elders and brothers on down have been saying, right? These presidents do whatever they want. They've been doing whatever they want, right? Look at the child support payments. That's an unrighteous decree, right? Elder Malcolm goes into that a lot. Title 4D, right? That's an unrighteous decree. But anyways, getting into it, right? Trump blocked the tariffs, and I believe they may try to implement it where he has to pay back all these companies billions and billions of dollars. Man. So it's gonna be rocky out here, man. It's gonna be out here looking, man. You're gonna see him go crazy. All right. And just me speaking as a man, right? I kind of foresee this, to keep himself from being impeached, or however he's going to implement it, man. He's going to implement World War III to keep himself in office. That's just me speaking as a man. That's just how I see it, man. Because a lot, wasn't he mentioned in those, in those things over 1 million times? Matter of fact, the times that we living in, right? with the I'm gonna just spell it out, ICE, right? With them, now you're having it come out to where you can't speak against them. You speak against them, right? They're gonna find your IP address, and you're liable to get thrown into prison, right? This is an unrighteous kingdom. This is a wicked ass kingdom, man. And so, yeah, Babylon the Great cannot continue as it is, as the scriptures speak of. We would have healed Babylon, but forsake her, right? Matter of fact, we'll get that. Matter of fact, we'll go ahead and get that in the book of Jeremiah, right? Let's see. This is Jeremiah 51 and verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. It's like you. Yeah. This is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense that's coming. You know, once again, it appeared to be Edomite said, hey, this place ain't going to be here, man. This place ain't going to be here in the next 5 years. You know how things is running, the economy, right? The people struggling, people out here doing bad out here, man. Babylon the Great cannot continue as such, right? Something got to break. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, right? There was a time period, right, in which all the other nations will come here to Babylon the Great, and they will live prosperous. They will live like a king. This time period, Esau, Edom, man, he lived like a king, right? Nigga still had to work, right? But he would live like a king. The woman will work at home. It's like the woman, you know, would just be a stay-at-home mother, and the man, all he had to do was work one job. And that one job, pay the house, pay all the bills, feed the kids, right? You get a car, another car for your wife. You was good, right? You was living high off the hog, man, Esau, you know? So yeah, this was truly the golden city, right? Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Slakia, verse 7, Slakia, I already read that. That made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Right? So the nations have drunk the wine of Babylon. Slakia, the philosophies, you know, start emulating the philosophies, the way in which these people are moving, right? The alphabet, the woman being above the man. Other nations figuring, hey, this ain't it. This ain't life. The hell we doing? They're starting to wake up. Now the other nations is gearing up for war, right? The scriptures say, let the weak say I'm strong. Now they got nukes. They ain't afraid of you anymore, Esau, you know? Right? You look at China like, nah, man, we ain't dealing with that shit no more. All right, because I did a video last year as well about pretty much how these Moabites was just as worse, if not worse, than these Babylonian women and how they were moving. So China implemented a law to where if you get divorced, the woman cannot take your assets. Your assets were protected, right? That's how bad it was getting over there. So yeah, that's just part of the wine. Slaggy. Verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, right? Because you got all these, you got all these Babylonians out here. You know, pray for America, right? Pray for his prosperity and his people. Oh yeah, we praying for America, right? We praying for Babylon the Great, right? That destruction is coming. You're gonna know the power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, yeah, you gonna know that, right? You gonna know that. You have to pay for what you have done unto the Lord's people, still unto this very day. Did the lesson of the day. You see why Jeremiah 16 and verse 16 must be implemented, right? The fishes shall be turned into hunter. Because you go into Esau, Edom, he was a cunning hunter, right? He was on that, man. And so now the hunter is going to be turned into the hunted, right? Anyways, getting back to it. Forsake her and let us go, every one into his own country, for a judgment reach unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies, right? It's lifted up even. Hey, what are we seeing now? They going around to all these other museums, you know, the accolades in which Jake has done, you know, they're removing it, you know. They don't want you to remember who you was, Jake. And that's just on the carnal level, not even knowing who you are on the spiritual level, right? Which all the other nations came together in Psalms 83 and want consent to blot you out of remembrance, man. So you other nations have to pay for that, especially you, Esau, Edom, right? Let's see, verse 10. The Lord hath brought forth righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord, Yahweh, our power. That's coming, man. We're going to implement. The Lord's going to be giving the men that spiritual power, protection, right? That is coming, man. The great works of the Lord is going to be known in these days, and you got to believe in that. Verse 11, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord, Yahweh Basham Yahushua, has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. For his device is against Babylon to do what? To destroy it. Because it is the vengeance of the Lord, Yahweh Basham Yahushua, the vengeance of his temple. Right? So the Lord is raising up these other nations. The Lord is raising up Russia and these other nations to come up against Babylon the Great. And this place is going to be destroyed with that thermonuclear fire, man. Right? Matter of fact, we're going to jump down to verse 21. And with thee, I will break in pieces the horse and his rider. And with thee, I will break in pieces the chariot. Matter of fact, I got to go up a little bit. Salaki. Right? Jeremiah 51 and verse 19. The portion of Jacob is not like him. He is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, the host is his name. And this also reminds me, if you know, looking at the news, you had this cat, what's his name? His phrase was tenderism. I believe his name was Walter, right? If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, he was making his TikToks or Instagrams, wherever, YouTube videos, wherever he was posting up the videos, and he brought that slogan, man. He brought that salt. He brought that flavor, right? And he got that whatever that restaurant name is, you know, destination, whatever that restaurant name is. But anyways, he got them on the map. Why? Because Jake had that salt, man. Jake had that salt. And when the owner would get on the videos, which I believe he's a Edomite, you know, I've heard that, you know, they're what they call it, white passing Issacharites. But how he moving and how he conduct himself, as an Edomite, man. As an Edomite. Because it's a tale as old as time, how the Edomites move and conduct themselves. Jake will have the recipe. Jake will have the sauce. Jake will do it up. But Esau Edom will come in and he will steal it. Just like he stole this land. Matter of fact, oppress a man in his heritage, man. He stole it. Stole it. So Mr. Walter, if I'm mistaken, that may be his name. All right, Mr. I don't even like saying tendenism, but they fired old boy, man. They fired him, man. So yeah, hey, that's just the MO of the Edomite. That's how they move, right? Jake brain the sauce. Jake brain the flavor, man. Right? They get what they need out of you, and they steal it from you, man. Right? And you left with nothing. But now I believe he's in Texas. Some rapper bought him his own place, and he's supposed to build up his own place and his own brand. But man, that's just another showing how these Edomites move, man. They have to pay for it, right? Shoot, down here, hey, we here in Kentucky Fried Chicken. Us down here, we know, we ain't worried about Kentucky Fried Chicken. We have a place called Indies down here that's pretty good, and some other new chicken places that's spotting up. But anyways, the Colonel stole the recipe. I believe it was from a Jake woman, right? So yeah, that's just how the Edomite rolls, man. We got that flavor, we got that salt, man. And the Edomites just steal it. But anyways, verse 20: Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. With thee I will break in pieces the nations, and with thee I will destroy kingdoms. You see, so that's coming. That spiritual power is coming, man. Right? This is part of the kingdom being dashed into pieces, right? The appear to be Edomites say, hey, Babylon the Great ain't gonna be here. Hey, this is part of it. This is what we hoping and wishing for, man, to be partakers of, to be the Lord's battle axe, right? Look up a battle axe, right? That type of weapon of war, the damage in which it can inflict, man. And we gonna be like that 144 million times than that, man. But anyways, with thee I will break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee I will break in pieces the chariot and his rider, because the Lord has lifted up Esau, Edom, and to confound them, he's going to use these men. Yahweh Ratazah, we of that flock, man. Right? He's going to use men like us, man. Yahweh Ratazah, we of that flock once again. And we're going to be able to confound our enemies, man. Right? The scriptures say we are a worm, but I shall change you into a new, strong, thirsty instrument with teeth. Right? Just roughly paraphrasing the scripture. Pretty much saying the Lord's going to raise up these men to have all the power, man. Not to be like an X-Men, as Apostle DeHaan would say. Not to be like the X-Men, just have one particular power or so, one or two, sometimes three. But you're going to have all the power. And you're going to need that, because Esau, Edom is about to be confounded, man. Right? Let's see. Breaking in pieces the old and young. And with thee I will break in pieces the young man and the maid. Everybody get it. Right? What's that? Ezekiel 9 verse 4? If you don't have that spiritual mark, that the wall, you done. You done. Everybody getting it, man. All right? I will break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee I will break in pieces the husband and the yoke of oxen, and with thee I will break in pieces the captains and rulers, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of the Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah. You see that? They have to pay for that. So yeah, Babylon the Great ain't going to be here. It cannot continue for many years as such. All the wickedness and all the wickedness that it has done unto our people, all the wickedness that's being exposed in the papers, I'm going to say it like that, right? And that's just a small inkling of what they've been doing, right? It cannot continue. This place has to be broken down, and it is. And that ultimate broke down, all right, breaking down of this kingdom is going to be that thermonuclear fire, right? Verse 25, behold, I'm against thee, O destroying mountain, save the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, with destroyed all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down the rocks, and I'll make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for the foundation, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So yeah, that's coming, man. Babylon the Great is going to be desolate forever. This is going to be, this place here is going to remain as a monument to the other nations. If you conduct yourself as such, this is what's going to happen unto you, right? So Yahweh desires an edifying lesson. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashum, Yahushua, Bashum, Rekach, Wadash, the bonds of the apostles, the bonds of the elders, and Great Millstone, Ruel, and taught us the truth, taught me the truth. And Ba Shalom.